no signings yet to be made, a patchy pre-season with a Wembley win to gear us up for Newcastle this Sunday. We discuss that opener and much more to come in this week's E-Spurs podcast.
Come on, E-Spurs! Come on, E-Spurs! Come on, E-Spurs! Come on, E-Spurs! Tottenham! No one...
Hello guys, welcome back to the E-Spurs podcast, Season 5. You can of course follow us across all the usual social media platforms. We are on Twitter and Instagram at E_Spurs. We are on Facebook, facebook.com/eSpurs page. We are also on YouTube, Pinterest and Tumblr. And for all of the links to all eSpurs platforms, you can head to our brand new website of www.e-spurs.com. On the E-Spurs podcast tonight, we'll be discussing Spurs' summer so far, we'll be talking about the opener against Newcastle to come, and we'll be taking your questions for tonight's panel. But before we talk all things Spurs tonight, let's introduce tonight's panel talking us through the next hour. I'm delighted to say, back on the show, we have the founder of Hotspur Related, Ross Berry, joining us. Ross, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks, mate. Thanks for inviting us on again.
Pleasure. Really looking forward to having you on, Ross. And I'm delighted to say joining Ross tonight is the creator of Daily Hotspur, Jamie Brown, joining us. Jamie, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Ricky.
Pleasure.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Jamie. Very well indeed. And finally, last but not least, we have E-Spurs regular Jason McGovern joining us. Jason, how you doing?
All good, Rick.
Good. Surviving, Jace, throughout the transfer window at the moment?
Yeah, the transfer window's not a problem for me, but enjoyed the Wembley win in front of two men and a dog at the weekend.
That was that many, Jace. It felt a lot less than that, even. God, we will come on to that very, very shortly. Let's bring it round to you firstly, Ross. What have you made of Spurs' summer so far?
Wow, what a loaded question that is. I think the safe answer is to say it's been very flat. Both in terms of pre-season, the transfer, the general kind of speculation and comments from Poch. It's just very flat at the moment. Like as in even the results. I know obviously pre-season's all about building up fitness as Poch focuses on, but it's all just been very kind of going through the motion at the moment, I feel.
It is at the moment. I can't disagree with you on that. Coming over to you, Jamie. Come on then. What's your verdict? What have you made of Tottenham's summer so far?
Well, obviously I think we needed to do the least. But I don't know, I think it's just obviously we left it very late, and it all just seems fairly unorganised, to be honest. I felt as though right back should have been brought in much earlier after we let Walker go. So I just think we're leaving it a bit late. So yeah, it's not been the best.
Yeah, typical Spurs fashion it seems. Just sticking with you for a second there, Jamie. I mean, you sound right back. Is there anyone else you would maybe have liked to see the squad target? I mean, bearing in mind, say if we would have kept Walker, is there anyone else in any other positions you would have liked to see Spurs strengthen?
Well, obviously we've got the likes of Ali, Ericsson, who can all play behind Kane, but I think something different is needed, like a Sadio Mane type player or a Wilfried Zaha, someone that can offer something a bit different to what Ericsson and Ali provide. So that's what I feel needed. I'd also say perhaps another striker. Obviously Janssen has really struggled at Spurs, so to perhaps add someone else that could add some more goals would really help us. So yeah.
Yeah, I suppose we'll have to see. I mean, the one being linked at the moment, as we know, the long-term target seems to be Ross Barkley. Obviously, recent speculation seems to be that Spurs are going to be waiting to the final days of the window. And I think the typical concern amongst Spurs fans is waiting to the end of the final days of the window is that someone else will come and poach them off us, which would be typical Tottenham fashion. Let's bring it around to you, Jace. Come on then, you're quite diplomatic, Jace, so I know you won't throw your toys out the pram so far that Spurs haven't made any summer signings. Being brutally honest, are you surprised that we haven't made any moves yet, Jace?
Well, I'm definitely surprised. As we just said, the right back scenario, you would have thought that you could have the argument whether we should have done it before we let Walker go or afterwards. But I am astonished that we haven't got a right back in place yet. And when you saw the injury on Saturday, and you think we're 6 days away from kick-off, and we may well be forced to having Moussa Sissoko playing at right back, which seems astonishing. Until you say, well, the one time he did play at right back, we won 6-1, so maybe it's not such a bad idea. But no, seriously, I'm surprised we haven't brought one or two players in. And as we get towards deadline day, I understand people say that that's panic day and we're leaving it late, but as I pointed last week, we signed Son on the 28th of August, Dembele on the 29th of August, Eriksen on the 29th of August, Lamela on the 30th of August, Hugo Lloris on the 31st of August. So we've had some good last-minute.com deals, but we've also obviously had Sissoko, Stambouli and Fazio last minute, so it can go either way. But I'm sure someone will be coming in. Let's just hope that we get the right ones.
You're a brave man, Jay, to put your neck on the line there, saying you're pretty sure someone is coming in.
I'm sure there will be.
I hope you're right.
Look, I mean, the problem with the Ross Barkley thing is that we get into a scenario that we did with Berahino, isn't it? Where the price apparently has dropped to 35. It seems astonishing that Tottenham still haven't made a single bid for Ross Barkley. And you do think, well, if he is our number one target, surely we should have made at least a bid by now and got an answer from Everton of roughly how much they want. So, we're counting on Everton caving in on the last day, which may not happen.
But the only thing I would say, Jace, back to that is, whereas West Brom were adamant Berahino wasn't going to go because they wanted to keep the player, Koeman has come out and publicly stated that, he won't be, he's planning effectively without him. And if you look at Everton signings, you would think, where is Barkley going to get into that team? I think, obviously, the purchase of Rooney for them would pretty much rule out any chance of Barkley getting into the squad. But, stranger things have happened.
Well, and they're also still on their pursuit with Gylfi Sigurdsson, isn't it?
Yeah.
And my worry will be that Barkley will end up thinking, well, if I can't go to Tottenham, do I do a loan deal with Swansea or something, which may well be a way that Everton try and create the scenario of reaching an agreement on the price with Sigurdsson, that, OK, we'll pay you 40 million, not the 50 you want, and we'll give you Barkley for a year. Now, obviously, that depends on Barkley saying yes. But if Barkley reaches a stage where he can't see a move happening because no one's prepared to pay the 35 million and the 120 grand a week, he might think, well, I might as well go to Swansea for a year and then be free to move rather than just sitting here doing nothing. So it wouldn't surprise me if Everton do try and come to an agreement with Swansea and use him into, to lever a deal with Sigurdsson. But, fingers crossed it goes our way.
Yeah. Let's bring it back around to you, Ross. Obviously, I know yourself and Jamie do exactly the same kind of thing. Obviously, on Twitter, you put out there the players that we may be being linked to, who we might be signing, who we won't be signing. What have you made, just out of interest, Ross, of the reaction you get on Twitter where you put names out there? Obviously, it's from newspapers, outlets, media, journals out there, and obviously these moves aren't happening. It's fair to say it's obviously a frustrating time for Tottenham fans. You can understand that, I would presume?
Yeah, sure. I think the most diplomatic answer I could give is that the reactions at the moment on Twitter are mixed, shall we say. I think, obviously, the frustration is clear to see. And I think even we've seen Poch's comments post-match against Juventus on Saturday afternoon, that even he's kind of... I get the sense that he's getting frustrated with it. I'm sure we'll get onto it later, but they asked him whether Kyle Walker-Peters was ready in case of Trippier's absence, and he flat out said no, which is surprising from Poch, considering his history of putting faith in young players. So I think, he's trying to push Levy into something or publicly get Levy to back him. But I think Spurs will be active. I don't think we'll not sign anyone and, have a complete hiatus. But I do think it's, Levy and driving prices down towards the window, which I don't actually think will happen very much. I think, we get into this notion that, the selling clubs maybe panic and accept 5 million less, but I'm not really sure how true that rings, unless you have a situation where Barkley's probably the exception, where the manager's come out and said, yeah, he will be sold, which, to be honest, is probably Levy's rubbed his hands at that, because I think Levy would have left it late regardless. But now Koeman said, yeah, he's definitely going to be sold. He's 100% going. He won't be an Everton player come the start of the season. That automatically takes 5 million off his price tag.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I most certainly do. Bring it round to you, Jamie. Let's go into the Juve game then. So, like I say, Ross has mentioned there about Kyle Walker-Peters. Pochettino said he's not ready. Based on that performance against Juventus, obviously we played very, very well. That first goal we scored, very much a team goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was obviously it was an important win because obviously at Wembley we haven't been so great. So obviously I think it's going to bring a certain level of confidence. I think it was a good performance and it was a strong Juve team. So to beat them 2-0, I think that's a pretty good confidence booster. So yeah, I think it was a good friendly.
Yep. Jace, from your perspective, what did you make of that game? I know it's pre-season, so it's hard to tell too much about it, but happy with the performance overall?
Yeah, I think probably for around about 60-ish minutes of the game, we were the better side. I thought first 10 minutes we started well. Then the next 10 minutes, I thought we're starting to Juve trying to get on top of us. But then we got those goals and Ericsson had the shot, didn't he? The keeper made an excellent save from. We had the Harry Kane miss. We hit the woodwork a couple of times. So I think overall, for the most part of the game, we looked excellent. I mean, as you say, the first goal was a brilliant team move. You won't see a better move than that, I don't think, by any club all season, the way we did it. But seeing Jan take somebody on the edge of our own penalty area gives you kittens if we play that way. But no, it was excellent, and I think the overriding memory of it was probably Moussa Sissoko's best. I would say, if I'm being harsh, maybe his best 45 minutes. I wouldn't quite go to the hour because I thought second half we saw a much more like last season Moussa Sissoko, a little bit quieter. But it was so good to see him have a bit of drive and desire to do things, and he was desperately unlucky with the one that hit the post. And maybe if that had gone in, you would have just given him that little bit of extra confidence. But certainly, let's be fair, if we saw that Moussa Sissoko 25 times this season, we'd all be delighted. And it hasn't got to be 38 times. It's got to be probably 2 games in 3. You want to see that level of performance. And if as I say, if he did that, you wouldn't want to be, certainly at the moment with the number of fit first team players, you hope that he wouldn't be going out in that case.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. Bringing it around to you, Ross. Jason's mentioned about Sissoko. Do we dare call it should we dare call it Moussa shop window Sissoko? Was that a performance there to try and, get some auctions in for him? What do you think, Ross?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I know it's a very pessimistic view to say a player is only playing to a certain level when a potential sale is coming in and, he's going to earn probably more money when he moves away. But, Newcastle fans berated him for it. They said whenever he was linked with a move to another club, or they even put it as reductionist as whenever he was on live TV, he'd put up a performance and then the other 30 games of the season, you wouldn't see anything of him. I mean, maybe I'm being biased, well, probably am, but ever since he's come in, I didn't expect big things from him. It didn't seem the right kind of Spurs buy. And probably performances on your hand, you could think of maybe 4 or 5 at most where he's actually performing to a decent level. I mean, I'm not really his biggest fan, putting it lightly, to be honest. And I think he was basically planned for a move, to be honest, because we saw that at the Euros. We saw a completely different Mr. Sissoko to the one we'd seen at Newcastle all season.
Yeah. I agree with you on that again. I think I can't fault what you're saying so far. Sticking with you, Ross, for a second, I think every Spurs fan could have predicted this would happen, that Kieran Trippier would pick up an injury at some point and we'd be thrust upon us that we would have to, like I say, deal with that right-back situation that we've got now ahead of Newcastle. Was that just typical Spursy, dare I say, that was going to happen to us?
It did seem a certain kind of have a certain aspect of fate to it, didn't it? Especially after the first one, and you thought, we're running the tightrope thin here, and then he obviously managed to continue playing, and then obviously when the second one came in, you thought, right, his time has got to be up now. I think it is Spursy, but I don't really like to revert to this kind of negative view that something bad happens to one of your players or something bad happens to the team. It's Spursy. These things do happen. It's just unfortunate. That it seems to happen more, shall we say, at Spurs, but maybe that's because we're Spurs fans, we focus on it more. I thought more concerning is obviously, as we've alluded to previously, how we haven't really planned. We've known Walker's gone for ages, or going, and is now subsequently gone for quite a few months now, to be fair. The Independent picked up on it February, March time, I think it was. And there's been no plan. We've been linked with Pereira, the guy's got a release clause. We've been linked with other players, obviously.
Aurea, Cancelo. So there's still quite a lot of that's been mentioned. Yep. Yeah,
it depends obviously who you believe, but the fact that Spurs haven't brought anyone in, not even necessarily before, because I know some people suggested that would weaken our negotiating position, but since as well, is concerning, very concerning.
Yeah, Jamie, you mentioned it as disorganised from Tottenham, and I have to agree with you. I mean, like Ross has picked up on there, I mean, Spurs probably knew from, dare we say, as early as January, February, that Walker wasn't particularly happy. Maybe because, like I say, the rotation of the fullbacks that we've seen, maybe his desire, like I say, to head back up north. So you would argue Tottenham had a good, 4 or 5 months to really consider their options in terms of who they want to come in at right back. I mean, my biggest argument is that, if you are going to look to replace Walker, why not bring his replacement in first? Whereas now we're in a situation where we've sold our right back, everybody knows the amount of money we've got to spend. Surely that just drives the price up, doesn't it?
Exactly. I mean, I just think it's crazy that we can go into the season with just one fullback, and obviously, if he doesn't think Kyle Walker-Peters is ready, then that leaves us with one proper right back. So it means that perhaps Dyer's going to have to slot in there, and I mean it's just a bit crazy, really. We haven't managed to recruit someone a bit earlier.
Jace, what are you making of it? I mean, that was typical, wasn't it? That was going to happen to us on Saturday afternoon.
Well, I mean, I'd look at the other positions anyway and think, okay, I think the focus is on the right back because the Walker's gone. But, could we afford an injury to Ben Davies at the moment? Could we afford an injury to Eriksen at the moment? We're talking about Eric Dyer slotting in at right back, but we've got Wanyama out injured. So, could we afford an injury to Eric Dyer at the moment, or to Toby? We're down to the, as I said last week, the bare bones in a lot of positions. And I think, probably we all expected, of all the people to get injured, it's the right back. But for me, we are so short now across the squad. We see another one go out last week in Josh Onoma. We'd all accept that probably Josh Onoma's not in our first 11, and he's unlikely to get games. But in the positions that we're in, with so many players missing at the moment, and players talked about leaving. I see Van Dijk hands a transfer request in today, which means, which will bring into focus Kevin Wimmer possibly leaving as well. That we can't afford to have any players injured at the moment, let alone, whether it's, as I say, whether it's Trippier, Davis, Dyer, Kane, Eriksen, Ali. We just got no cover for anyone at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, Pochettino's press conference after the game, coming to you, Ross, I think you've mentioned his quotes earlier. He did say we are trying to add some players to the squad. I mean, you get the feeling that he is, dare I say, I don't want to kind of start anything here, mildly, potentially irritated by the fact we haven't made our moves. Are you concerned, Ross, that, if we don't get the ideal start, what it's like, speculation, murmuring, we need to, like I say, get off to a good start, don't we?
Yeah, we do. I don't think there's any, concerned long term. I mean, I understand the immediate frustration completely. At the end of the day, we're all Spurs fans and we all want to see new players in, freshen up the squad. I think even, the fellow players, as much as they may toe the party line and say, we've got to improve on next year, it's down to us, it's our responsibility. I'm sure they want to see fresh faces through the door. But, it's just one of those things. I'm sure the faces will come through the door. It's just, it's just typical Tottenham. And it is kind of, I think Jamie alluded to it earlier, it's kind of concerning to see, for once, a lack of planning from Spurs. We've seen a lot of it, how well we have planned off the pitch in terms of, the stadium, Poch, the progression on the pitch. But in terms of transfer activity, it's been quite concerning this summer. A lot of people in the media, fans alike, were saying that, Spurs are fine, don't need to panic so soon because they're the team that needs to do the least bit of business, which rings true if we're specifically focusing on our first 11. But then if you looked at the contrast between the first 11 and the bench, it's rather damning. And that's not, being derogatory towards the youth that we've got coming through, but there's such a kind of disparity in quality between the two that you're putting unparalleled amounts of pressure on the kids at the moment to come and step up, especially when, Poch has come out and said that at the moment they're not ready as well. So, yeah.
Fairly alarming. I think it has to be said. It is fairly alarming. Coming over to you, Jamie. One player that has shown real promise in the pre-season, he again played very well on Saturday, was Christian Eriksen. He seems to be showing a real confidence in front of goal, and that's what we want to see from him, don't we? I mean, he finished the season last season very strong, and hopefully, like I say, may that continue.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for Christian Eriksen, for me, I feel he's going to be our most important player this year. For me, he was our best player last season as well. I think he's such a talented player, and I think obviously he starts slow, but towards the end of the season he seems to pick up. But from his form in pre-season, I think that hopefully he can kick off right from the start, and hopefully we can see a really strong Christian Eriksen this year.
Yeah, and sticking with you, Jamie, also Harry Kane, this is a guy that has recently missed the last couple of Augusts through injury. Like I say, he's been in amongst the goals in pre-season, hoping, like I say, if he could start the season strong in August, then God knows how many goals he could end up with by the end of the upcoming season.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously, before maybe he's been criticised a couple of times, like Eriksen, starting slowly. So the fact that he's had a strong summer to build up fitness and get sharp again, I think that's going to hopefully just help him and make him become a better player. I mean, yeah, obviously the best striker in the league, in my opinion. Obviously debatable, but yeah, I think he's going to be obviously going to be a massive part of the team this year.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And Jace, your thoughts there? Eriksen, Kane, anyone else stand out for you at all in pre-season?
Yeah, Eriksen's probably of the attacking players has been the highlight. 2 excellent goals. I mean, the goal Sunday was on Saturday rather was fantastic. Little bit of movement, and Dele Alli had probably been my biggest worry over the first 3 pre-season games because he didn't look anywhere near last season's Dele Alli. But there were signs on Saturday that he was starting to get into his rhythm as well. He's still not there 100%, but it was certainly a lot better from him Saturday than it had been the previous weeks. But Eriksen's goal, the run to make the goal as well, the attacking of that space, the combination between the two, and then a really cool finish. So that's what we need. And as we all know, it was November-ish last year that we started to see the best of Eriksen, and we at the moment we definitely need to start that season really strongly.
Yeah. Coming back round to you, Ross, I mean, you've made obviously the claim with regards to obviously the first 11 and the squad in general. I mean, we are going to be again, Ross, from what we see, really relying on that first 11, but that 12 to 13 players to really, kick us off strongly.
Yeah, no, we are. Just going back to the Kane and Eriksen point, I think it's important to note as well that this is, I think, if I'm right in saying, Kane's first full pre-season at Spurs under Poch. Obviously, his breakout season, he had the Euros, followed by the Euros last summer and whatnot. So I think it's important that this summer he had a full break, chilling with his golden boots, and then obviously back now, and he's had that full, rather than kind of coming in halfway through the pre-season or coming in second week of the season, especially as we all know under Poch, probably more than most, if not any manager in the Premier League, how important the pre-season is as well.
And just sticking with you there, Ross, I mean, we also have to bear in mind that we are without the likes of Danny Rose, Victor Wanyama, Heung-min Son, Eric Lamela, and Nkudu as well. So we are still missing quite a few players that will come back into this squad, Ross.
Yeah, no, we are forgetting that. But obviously, as alluded to previously, Spurs' issue isn't the quality of the first team. It's the disparity from the first team to the bench. To put the pressure on that Spurs team to go again the whole season like they have the last 2 seasons and compete right at the top of the league and rely on what is essentially 13, 14 players is just too much of a demand.
So if I offered you, Ross, a replacement right back, I mean, like I say a Pereira and a Ross Barkley, is that enough in your opinion to see Spurs challenging for the league, bearing in mind the business that everyone else has done around us so far? What do you think?
I say no, but that's not no in the sense of we can't challenge for the league. It's more a case of I think we need more. Because everyone makes this point about, Spurs are standing still while Manchester United have spent 90 million on an inferior striker to Kane. All these players that they've bought, Manchester United, Chelsea, I wouldn't really take them at Spurs. Maybe the only player I would take would be Salah. And that's only because I think Spurs need that player that can stretch a game. And I think judging on previous targets and rumours within the media, some more reliable than others, Spurs are obviously trying to target that player. But I look at other teams' business and, okay, they've been active, but some of the players that have went for some of the prices they have, I've looked at and I thought, it's obviously Spurs will take Lukaku, but it'd only be second to Kane. Spurs aren't going to spend those kind of money. And to be honest, I wouldn't want us spending that kind of money on some of the players that have been bought by our supposed rivals.
Yeah, I mean, you make a great point there, Ross. I do think that we are craving out for some additional pace in this team. Bearing in mind the loss of Walker, I think up the right-hand side, I think Zaha would have been a great signing for Tottenham. I know there was a mixed reaction when that kind of speculation was going on. Obviously, subsequently, he signed a new deal with Palace. So, I mean, again, it's one of those that has got away because I think we're going to have to find a way, coming over to you, Jamie, where we're going to need to exploit that big open space at Wembley this season coming. Yeah. And it would be great to, like I say, have some much required pace in that side because we look lethargic at times in pre-season and devoid of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think at Wembley, watching the team, I think one of the best players that stood out for me most of the time was Walker, and obviously, he exploited it. Used his pace so much to get down the wing, and of course, using such a big pitch, it's going to play into the hands of faster players. So, do we have many of those in the squad? So, it's something that we need to add. I mean, one guy that I really like is Keita of Lazio, who's a winger, and just looks like the type of player that would really improve us.
Do we know what that kind of fee would be commanding out of interest, Jamie? Do we know what the kind of banded around fee is?
35, I think. 35. Okay. I mean, to be honest, I haven't heard much of it, but I mean, that's kind of the dream signing, to be honest.
Okay. Typical, is it, with Spurs? We're clinging on to these dream signings. Coming over to you, Jason. I want to ask you the same question. I want to ask you the same question, Jason. If I offered you Ross Barkley and, like I say, a replacement right back, would you be confident enough to think that's Tottenham challenging again, or do you also think, like Ross, we need a little bit more in there?
Well, I think if you brought in Barkley and the right back, we'd challenge for a top 4 spot. But of course, the demand of everyone is to win a trophy, and the most likely trophy that we could pick up is a League Cup. And therefore, if you're going to play rounds of League Cup when you're playing group stage Champions League games and Premier League games, it will be the League Cup that we start to rotate in and we see kids coming in for. And therefore, if you draw Southampton away or Watford away or, a Premier League game, a Premier League opponent, and you're starting to pick 5 or 6 kids in the side, then it makes it much harder to go and win that. So, I'd be quite confident of still staying within that top 4. But if you're going to compete to win trophies, you've definitely got to bring in more than just 2.
Right.
I think the other thing as well with at Wembley, I mean, we were speaking there off air, the bigger pitch at Wembley, the bigger pitch doesn't worry me as much as per se as other people have done, because we have won on bigger pitches before. But if you play high intensity football and you're on a much bigger pitch, we have got to make sure we got fully fit players. And even with the likes of Danny Rose to come back, when you've been missing 9 months, it's going to take him a long time to get back to speed. And we do know as well, without trying to put doom and gloom on it, when players have been out that long, when they do come back, they also pick up little niggly injuries. They very rarely come straight back into the side and then it's smooth for the rest of the season. So if you've got players that are carrying injuries, Wanyama, it is a bit strange, the Wanyama situation, that he's missed a couple of games in the States. They thought he'd be back for Saturday. He isn't back for Saturday. Eric Lamela, of course, won't be back till October. Winks is still feeling pain in his foot. Dembele, we know, struggles. You start to think, Son as well, not quite sure. Although at least with Son's a broken arm, that's, once it's fixed, it's fixed. It's not like a reoccurring knee injury or things like that.
Well, I don't know, Jason.
It is a worry.
This is Spurs.
Well, it is, but fingers crossed that's not so much of a problem. But that's why I think we do need more than 2 in, because we are struggling at the moment to get 11 players fully fit and fully mobile onto the pitch. And as I say, 1 injury elsewhere. We don't know how long Trippier will be out now, do we?
No, we don't. What we're going to do, guys, is we're going to go for a very quick break, and afterwards we are going to take your questions for tonight's panel, where there will be some, like I say, transfer questions in there, squad questions ahead of Newcastle. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back after this very short break. Hello guys, welcome back to the E-Spurs podcast. As always, we ask you to get your questions into us on a weekly basis. You can do that by tweeting our Twitter account of @T_Spurs, leaving your question with the hashtag E-SpursPod. It's fair to say there's a bit of a mixture this week, guys. We're going to kick it off coming to you, Ross. Back talking about the squad, typically. This is from Kenny Coys at Electric Ericsson, who asks, Poch has said we need a backup players to push our starting 11. Who do you think needs most competition, and who can we sign as a backup realistically? What do you think? Coming over to you, Ross.
I mean, it's the obvious one to go for, but I think that right back position, I mean, we've sold our first choice up until the last couple of months of the season, where obviously Trippier became more of the priority right back. He's come out again and said that obviously Kyle Walker-Peters, the kind of natural heir, shall we say, to that second position at right back, isn't ready, he feels. So yeah, I'd say obviously the right back, and then it's a case of, do you go for Pereira or do you go for the young German at Hoffenheim? I mean, I would take either. I think it's just important to get that second player in and competing, because we've seen what Trippier did with Kyle Walker when he came in, how the competition took his game to the next level, and then the year before that, with Ben Davies coming in and taking Rose to the next level. So I think it's important to keep the players on their toes. And yeah, obviously the natural position to strengthen there is the right back, purely because the need for competitiveness for Trippier.
Yeah, I say
just on Pereira.
Go, Jace.
Just on Pereira. My one worry about. I mean, I must admit, I don't know a lot about Pereira. I mean, he's a Portuguese international. You've seen the odd game with them, but it concerns me a little bit that Porto were quite happy to loan him out to Nice last year. If he's that good a player, why was he on loan at Nice? And then having gone back to Porto, they're quite happy to sell him. So that's my only concern with Pereira. I mean, don't get me wrong, he may come in and be absolutely blinded, but it does seem strange that he's owning club and more than happy to see the back of him.
Sure. From what I understand, I mean, I'm limited very much so in my knowledge of the Portuguese league, and not so much, but still in the French league. But from what I understand is that Porto had issues with financial fair play, or some kind of financial issue in which they essentially couldn't pay his wages, or his wages were too much, and hence had to ship him out. And that's, I think, I believe that's why they've also sold their star striker to Milan this summer. So maybe there's not as much a need to sell him now, but I think it was basically financial.
All right.
I'll say cheers for that, Ross. We're going to come over to you there, Jamie. We've got a question here from Hamid at THFC, who says, who would be your preferred right-back choice this summer if we had to make a signing? I think we've had the likes of Pereira, Cancelo, Oria and Toljan linked. Any of those take your fancy? Or someone different at all?
For me, it'd be Chancelino. A couple of months ago, funnily enough, he was linked with Barcelona. And I was, and I've watched a few games of his, and he just struck me as such a good player. And obviously he's a winger as well. So of course he's a guy that's going to be able to bring pace to the team down the right side, and everything we kind of need in the right back. And yeah, I mean, it seems like a really big talent. I think 22, 23 years of age. So kind of the perfect player for Pochettino to sort of develop. And yeah, that would be my choice, Chancelino.
Okay. Fair enough. And Jace, coming over to you. This is a cracking question we got in earlier from Zoe Pearson. Zoe says, could the backlash from some fans on social media cause more damage division than not bringing players in at the right moment? I think that's a cracking question. What do you think, Jace?
Well, it was certainly, I think, it caused backlash in the general atmosphere around the club. And we've got problems with that going to Wembley as, there's enough negativity with going to Wembley as it is. So I think she's definitely right. But my worry is that having waited all summer and the arguments going on your Twitters and Facebooks and things like that about no signings, there is absolutely no doubt as soon as we make a signing, it will be a case of, that's not the player to take us to the right level, and why didn't we sign him, and why didn't we sign him? So, damned if you do, damned if you don't, I think, with some people on Twitter. And we all know one particular person that will spark a Twitter row at the drop of a finger, won't he? So, dear, oh dear. But hopefully we sign everyone on his target list, and then we'll win the league by Easter probably. But no, I mean, seriously, there is a big negativity at the moment. Just lots of things going on at the club at the moment. The ticket exchange scheme, things like that, where you see the trust putting out things. So there are big problems, I think, off the pitch with the connection, and that's what's been so good over the last few years, isn't it? That we all kept saying it. We feel like the connection between fans and the club has come back, which started going right back to when we started to see Masons, Townsend, Kane's coming through, and for 3 years we have been pretty united on and off the pitch. But there is big worries this year that connection's breaking quickly, and even down to the ticket prices for Saturday. Okay, it wasn't Tottenham's fault that the ticket prices were that, but it gets reported in some media, and you get lots of people saying, look at Tottenham, they only had 20,000 at Wembley, and they, there are people that if you like, if they're not regular supporters that go every week, would have just seen that and said, look, Tottenham tries to screw the supporters for the money, and they're the worrying things at the moment.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. That is the unfortunately the world we live in now with the media, the way it is that's sometimes reported. We're going to come back around to you, Ross. We've got a question here from Rachel Martin at Rachel V Martin, who says, given Danny Rose still refers to having a hard time he got from Spurs fans when learning a new position, should Sissoko be cut some slack? Sorry, Ross. I had to ask.
No, it's fine. I meant to say yes, aren't I? But no. Like, I do feel sorry for him in the sense of the 30 million tag. If he was a 15 million pound player, maybe people wouldn't come down on him so harshly. I think, which isn't his problem, but obviously because Spurs have reportedly paid that 30 million, whether you believe it or not, people say instalments and variables.
No,
but
apparently it's 30. Apparently it's 30. We had that confirmed by Lars Thompson in the summer. Yeah.
The general, consensus is that Spurs did pay 30 million for him, and I do feel because of that price tag, people do come down harsher on him, including myself. But I just don't see even a 15 million pound player in him at times, and I just can't wait for him to leave.
Okay. I gather there's no change in your mind, Ross.
No, unfortunately not. Unless he turns out, and starts banging them in from 25 yards, and but even then.
Well, the big thing about French wingers turning around, and she's just had an absolute blinder for his first game in the French league. He was one of the best players on the first opening match day. So it's
scored a Cantona chip from outside the box for his second as well, didn't he? So.
Yeah, I know I think it was Tottenham Talk last night. The great tweet saying he's turned full Neymar already. Although Levy's a genius, I'm not sure there's been a buyback clause for him. I think it's taken long enough to try and get rid of him. That was the bigger concern. We're gonna move it on to you, Jamie. We've got a question here with regards to Trippier. This is from Joel Steinhang. I hope I've pronounced that, Joel. This is a question. He says, with Trippier likely to be injured for the first game, do we, 1, change our formation, 2, play Kyle Walker-Peters? But it seems Poch has ruled out that option 2. So, in your opinion, Jamie, what do we do?
Yeah, well, of course, at the moment, we haven't actually brought anyone in. So, really, that leaves us with Dyer to play at right back. So, obviously, that's going to affect playing 3 at the back with full wing backs. Because I don't think Dyer's the kind of person to bomb down the wing. So, yeah, I think we would have to go 4 at the back, because I think that Dyer would have to slot in at right back for now, which isn't ideal, to be honest. But yeah, I'd say that we'd have to go to 4-2-3-1, I think. Okay,
just to confirm from your perspective, Jamie, no chance of Sissoko coming in at right back.
Absolutely not. As we said, obviously we had a fantastic performance there when we were 6-1, but. No.
Okay, fair enough. Jace, before I ask your question, you want to comment on that at all? Sissoko, would he get into your team for Sunday?
He would do.
He would?
Okay.
I
think because, he definitely would do, because I fear that Victor Wanyama won't be fit, or if he is fit, he won't last 90 minutes.
Right.
And so, like I say, if you put Eric Dyer at right back and Victor Wanyama's not in the side, who the hell goes into midfield in that case? Yeah. So it wouldn't surprise me if we see Moussa Sissoko play a right back for maybe an hour or something, and then if Wanyama is fit enough to be on the bench, that they come on, he comes on after an hour, and then you might switch Eric Dyer to right back. And the only other thing, of course, is Newcastle away. So if there is one game that Moussa Sissoko is hopefully up for, it really should be Newcastle away, shouldn't it? And I'm sure he'll get flack from their crowd. And that should make should create that hunger and desire in him more. Don't get me wrong, I don't want Moussa Sissoko at right back for the rest of the season. I'm certainly not saying that, but for one specific game at Newcastle, and with the issues around Wanyama, I can see that happening.
I'm now expecting a Timothy Atuba-esque Newcastle away goal from Moussa Sissoko now.
No, wouldn't that be brilliant? Wouldn't that be brilliant?
Strange things have happened. You never know. I'm going to stick with you for your question here, Jace. This is from Phil B at Phil_THFC, who asks, do you think Barkley would improve? He asked, do you think Barkley would bring any improvement to our midfield, and where would you see him slotting in? What do you think, Jace?
I definitely think Ross Barkley. For me, I mean, we talked last week about the level of players we can get, and if you look at the 3 behind Kane, we talked about Mahrez, we talked about Sigurdsson, we talked about Barkley. Of the 3, Barkley would be my choice, easily be my choice of the 3. But I understand not everyone's a Barkley fan. I think, the one thing I would say about Ross Barkley is I keep seeing this nonsense that he won't get in our first team. But you're buying the bloke for a 5-year contract. Are we saying Ross Barkley over the course of 5 years won't be good enough to play in our first team? If Dele Alli is sold at the end of next summer, Ross Barkley's not good enough at that stage to come into the team. And we know with Dele Alli missing Champions League games, there's an opening for Ross Barkley. And I would say for any player, if Dele Alli misses those games and Ross Barkley was to come in, be or whoever that particular player is, and they play well in those games, Pochettino's the type of manager that will keep him in the side. So, we already know there's an opening for him to force his way through. And I think Ross Barkley is definitely a player that can play in the three behind Kane, and he could also be long-term replacement and competition with Winks when Dembele has to go, because Dembele's not going to be around for the 5 years Ross Barkley's contract would be for. So for me, yes, Ross Barkley, I hope will come to Tottenham for sure.
Okay, and final question across the panel tonight. This is from Cucurella, who's asked, would you consider it a good window if we was to also sign, in addition to Bartley, and a new right-back, Riyad Mahrez? Just very quickly across the board, Ross, Riyad Mahrez, is he a player you like and would like to see in a Spurs shirt?
I've got to admit, I'm very indifferent. I was having this discussion with a friend actually the other day, and for me, I can't see it happening anyway, considering the fees mentioned and whatnot. But we're speaking hypothetically here. I just don't see. I know this sounds crazy considering he's a Premier League winner, but I don't see much difference between him and Lamela. As stupid as that sounds, I think that season, very many kind of one in a blue moon things happened, including Mahrez and Vardy's goals and Leicester win the league, as we all know. And for me, sure, I'd take him. Who wouldn't? But I'd only be taking him based off that one season where he was just sublime.
Yeah, I agree with you. And like I say, I think, Ross, I might get pelters for saying it. I like Eric Lamela. I think on his day, he's a cracking player.
Same.
I think the problem he's got, Ross, is similar to what we've seen with Sissoko, is the price tag will always weigh him down, which is such a shame, because I think if he was bought for 15 million, there'd be a lot more patience there. Do you know what I mean? I think it'd be the same with Sissoko.
Yeah.
But this is the
To be fair, I think if he was bought for 15 million, I honestly think Spurs fans would be raving about him.
Yeah, this
I honestly think he'd be. I think people would say he's actually performed above expectation. But like you say, he's always going to be weighed down with replacing and bowing the number 11 shirt and all the connotations with that, as well as the price tag.
Yeah. Let's come across to you, Jamie, very quickly. Yes or no? Mahrez, would you take him if Tottenham were interested? What do you think?
I think at this stage I'd quite happily take anybody, but seriously,
give us someone.
But seriously, I would take Mahrez, because I think I still think he's a very talented player, and I think I do think we need to add a number 10 type player. I think he's, in a way, I'd say he's different to what Eriksen and Ali provide. So yeah, I'd take Mahrez definitely.
Okay, and Jace, finally come across to you. I know you got a few words on Riyad Mahrez previously. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think there's no doubt that there's talent and ability in the player, because he was exceptional when Leicester won the league, and in fairness, he was pretty good for them the season before that when they stayed up. My one concern with him is he completely went missing for the entire season at Premier League level last year, and it's quite stunning, isn't it, that Harry Kane scored more goals at the King Power than Riyad Mahrez did last year, and he only played there one night. So I think that tells you a lot about Mahrez, and I think it's really hard, isn't it? Because you have a talented player for sure, but in Pochettino's system, that's not enough, is it? And you've got to come back, you've got to work, you've got to press for 90 minutes. And so I'd actually be stunned if he was even on our target list, because he looks totally against the character and attitude and work ethic that Pochettino goes for. Talent, without a doubt, the boy's got the talent, but has he got that real mentality that goes with it to help out at the other end of the pitch? That's my concern with Riyad Mahrez.
I think, like you said there, Jace, the fact, like I say, it seemed like he downed tools at the start of last season. I think that would, like I say, play alarm bells in any manager looking maybe to bring.
I think it would do.
It's a cracking talent, like you said. Yeah.
And I mean, the other thing is, you could talk about any of them. I mean, Ross Barkley's the same. We're talking about Eric Lamela and Moussa Sissoko being overpriced and their price tag has weighed heavily, and we're talking about Mahrez or Barkley coming in as possible backup players at 35 million. And so the very first thing that's going to be thrown at them, isn't it, is why isn't this player playing like a 35 million pound player? And that's what I said. As soon as we do sign someone, everyone will be in uproar that we've paid too much and we've bought the wrong player.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. Let's firstly, what I'm going to say is thank you so much, guys, for all your questions this week. I'm sorry we haven't got through all of them. I think Jason is going to try his best to try and, like I say, put together answers to all of the questions as we do on the E-Spurs website, which is www.e-spurs.com. Thank you so much, guys. If you haven't put a question and you want to do it on a weekly basis, all you've got to do is tweet our Twitter account of @E_Spurs, leaving your question with the hashtag eSpursPod. Right, guys, we're going to move it on to the Newcastle preview. We're going to start with you, Ross. I think I've got to ask you, Ross, what would your team be then coming on to next Sunday's opener? Or this Sunday's opener, should I say?
It's hard, isn't it? There's so many variations. I think working on the assumption that Trippier doesn't make it, which I think is a fair assumption to make at this point. Obviously, I'd go with a 4-2-3-1. Obviously, Lloris starting in goal, left back Ben Davies, right back Eric Dyer, and then the Belgian duo in at centre back. And then if we're then working again off the assumption Wanyama's not going to be there, then who do you partner Dembele with in midfield? Maybe Sissoko has got a shot of getting in there.
What do you say, Winks maybe? What do you reckon? Winks possibly?
I'm a big fan of Winks, but there's supposedly pain in his foot. But yeah, I think I'd much rather go with a Dembele Winks midfield, and then ahead of that we've got Eriksen, Ali, and who else is fit? We're getting to who's going to fill that third spot if Sissoko's. So now I'm thinking about it on reflection. I think Sissoko's going to start, whether it be right back, centre midfield, or right wing. I think now I'm thinking of the names, and you're thinking Son's injured, Lamella's injured, Wink supposedly he's fit, but it's got pain in his foot. I think Sissoko probably will start, and then obviously the main man, the one of our own, Harry Kane.
Yeah.
The Premier League Golden Boot winner yet again this season.
Yeah, I can't believe Jason, within 46 minutes, has talked us into Sissoko in the team for Sunday. And Jace, coming over to you, you've convinced us Sissoko's in the team.
Number one Sissoko fan club over there.
Yeah, I know, tell me about it.
I wouldn't go that far.
God. Listen, Jason on Twitter, he's going to get pelters after this if we start throwing those rumours around, bless him. Jace, tell us is there anyone else, Jace, in the team for Sunday we haven't mentioned already? What do you think?
Will definitely depend on Wanyama being fit. If Wanyama's fit, then I think we will see Eric Dyer at right back. If Wanyama doesn't make it, then I think Sissoko will go in at right back. But as we say, if we play 4-2-3-1 and Sissoko's at right back, you've got the problem then what to do with the three behind Kane up front. And I'm not saying that's the way, but about the only other option that you're down to is, which I would hate to see, but we saw it right at the start of last year, is that you'll end up dropping Kane into one of the three behind, almost as a number 10, and chucking on Janssen up front. But, that's not ideal. Certainly, it's not ideal. I want Kane to play as the out-and-out striker. I never want to see him playing as a number 10 behind a striker. So, for me, that's not the way I go. But we're in that case, the scenario of fitting round pegs in square holes, aren't we? Or square pegs in round holes. See, I'm even getting confused myself now because of the saying. That's where we're going. But we are down to that level at the moment, and I don't know if Son will be at least fit to be on the bench. I mean, we've seen pictures of him in training, but hopefully he can at least be on the bench. And it gives you some options, but we are into a worry that if the first hour doesn't go well, there's God knows how we're going to fix it either.
Yeah, very little to bring on. It's a concern, like I say, Jason, very little to bring on. Ross, just generally on the game itself, I mean, Newcastle, let's be honest, we could have dealt with maybe a bit of an easier fixture. They're going to be really up for this, aren't they, Ross? Back in the Premier League for them, 54,000 Geordies behind them. I mean, we've got to start quick, haven't we, Ross? I mean, the concern is, there we sat as Tottenham fans, you go 1-0 down against that lot, especially, and we need to have that revenge also for, that dreadful last day defeat there, if you remember, obviously, last day of the season. How can we forget?
Oh, don't remind me. No, I think we do.
On that 5-1, wasn't Musa Sissoko man of the match?
Oh,
yeah, and he dived. He dived one of their penalties as well.
He dived, didn't he, for
it? Yeah, he dived.
Oh, yeah.
But no, I think it's a good game to start with. I mean, Ben Davies recently said that to the media that it has no bearing, they've completely removed it from their minds. But I think naturally when you're placed back in that situation against the same opposition, surely you've got to link it and reflect on last time. So I think, I don't know, I'm unfortunately not a professional footballer, but I think going there with that angle on it potentially can only serve as a benefit rather than a downfall. Dare I say, touch wood. I think, there's going to be the fact that Spurs haven't got maybe an easy home fixture against a mid-table team is probably to our benefit because we can't get complacent. We're straight up against a team that need the points from day one to stay in the league. They've got that 5-1 over us, unfortunately, from the season before last. So I think it's quite a good game to start with. However, I do wish it was a nicer game rather than Newcastle. But hey, I'm still confident. As long as Harry Kane plays for my team, I will be confident in winning the match.
Yeah, I may not agree with you on that one. And coming over to you, Jamie, I think Newcastle-wise, they haven't been themselves too busy during the transfer window. Like I say, I think their only doubt we've got in terms of injuries has been Dwight Gow for them. Seems to be quite a crucial player. How are you going into this game? Are you confident? Are you fearing? What's your thoughts going into the game?
I think I'm relatively confident. I mean, obviously the transfer window hasn't filled me with great optimism for the season, but I mean, on the signings, I mean, I know Rafa Benitez just come out and said that he's not too happy with how their window's gone. So I don't know how that's going to affect them. I know they just won a pre-season friendly against Hellas Verona 2-0. So I don't know. I think I'm still confident. I think we can still get the win. Yeah.
Okay, and Jace, coming over to you. Bearing in mind we've discussed about our team and maybe not having quite enough options from the bench. Are we confident, Jace, in the 11 that will go out there is good enough to get the job done?
Yeah, I'm confident in that starting 11. It's as I say, what happens if we then pick up one or two knocks during the game, or we have to change the game? That's a concern. But hopefully we're not in a position where we do need the game changer from the bench, and we get control of it really early. But I think that 5-1. I think Pochettino will kind of gloss over it as the week goes on, but I'm sure the Eric Dyers, the Harry Kanes will be sitting in that dressing room and on the training ground saying, we've got a lot to put right of what happened here last time. And so even if Pochettino doesn't say it, the players definitely will, and it will have some impact on us. But just because you're determined to do it doesn't mean to say it will do. Goalkeepers can have a blinder, can't they? Referees can make a strange decision and it can go against you. But fingers crossed, we should be all right. I'm confident we'll go there and get the 3 points.
Okay. Well, let's go around the table. Let's get some predictions then. Come back round to you, Ross. Give us your verdict. What do you think?
I'm going to play it relatively safe and say a score draw.
Score draw, okay. Is that your heart or your head telling you that, Ross?
That's my head.
Okay.
My head. I'm kind of being convinced into, expecting a Musa Sissoko hat-trick now. Oh, but in all seriousness, no, I think it'll be, I reckon 2-2 I'm feeling at the moment.
Okay. Let's hope
quite a score.
Yeah, fair enough. No, I'd say fair prediction. Come round to you, Jamie, coming in. What are you going to give us?
I'll say 2-1. I think we'll just edge it 2-1. I think we'll just have enough.
Okay, that's good to hear. And Jace, finally to you, prediction.
Yep, 2-1 for me as well.
2-1.
The thing we got to do is defend set pieces a little bit better, because pre-season we've conceded from set pieces, and it was a worry even Saturday, wasn't it? In that first half, they had 2 or 3 corners where Khedira got 3 headers, Higuain peeled off on a far post, and we know that we conceded. Even with that fantastic defensive record last year, we did concede too many from set pieces. So that's the worry, that Newcastle will get that little 4 or 5 minute spell where you win 2 or 3 corners and you have to defend those corners properly. But I still expect us to go there and win the game for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to go alongside you, Jace and Jamie. I'm going to say 2-1. I think it will be a close game, but I think we will edge it. Guys, before we wrap this up, I'm going to go round to all 3 of you and ask you to name the first summer signing you think we're going to see through the door. Let's go first to you, Ross. Chuck us your name. Who do you think will be the first through the door, Ross, this summer?
I think it'll be the stellar name of Paulo Gazzagina, the Southampton fourth choice keeper. I think, and can we just take a moment to realise what's going to happen when that gets announced, whether it be this week, next week, dear. And the Spurs admin who is going to take unparalleled amount of abuse.
Well, something like the abuse he got for the Danny Rose sort of contract announcement.
I think we're going to see new levels of meltdown on Spurs Twitter.
Yeah, I'm just going to say, for those that do have Twitter, I'm going to say rest in peace, both Ross's notifications and Jamie's when you guys announced that as well. I think that's just going to really, like I say, kick it all off. Jamie, do you go alongside that? Do you think we are going to see the Southampton keeper in as number 1?
Unfortunately, I think that will be the first name to the door. I do think we'll bring in some more, but I have to admit, I do think it'll be Gazzaniga will be the first one in. So if he can be anything like the last Gazza we had, then I like it'll be brilliant. But
that's a shot.
That's a great spin.
Who knows? Who knows?
That's not a bad way to put a spin on it. I like that. James, come over to you finally. Are you going alongside this Gazzaniga fella coming in? What do you think?
No, I'm going for a new crane driver for the 5th crane at the stadium. I've heard that bloke needed a 2-week holiday, so we're looking to sign a new crane driver there. But I know one person it definitely won't be. To all those people that think it's going to happen, it definitely won't be Gareth Bale, that's for sure.
Oh dear, I think we'd love it too.
Don't start that one.
Don't, honestly.
Yeah.
Maybe one day, who knows what a player he's been. Guys, honestly, I can't thank you enough for all joining us. Ross, been a real pleasure having you back on the show.
Thank you very much.
Honestly, been really great having you. And Jamie, thanks so much for making your debut tonight. We've really enjoyed it.
No, thank you for having me. It's been brilliant. Yeah, good fun.
Great, and I say we'll no doubt get you guys back on very soon. And Jace, thank you so much as always.
No problem, Rick. Looking forward to the weekend.
Yes, looking forward to the weekend. Finally back in the Premier League. Guys, we'll be back after the show, fingers crossed, discussing a Tottenham Hotspur win. And as always, as we roll into our first game of the opening season, come on you Spurs!
Back on to White Hart Lane.